Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are out there in the world. It's time for another episode of the SoundTraxx Soundbites podcast. This is the train talk from Milepost 141, coming to you from 141 Burnett Drive in Durango, Colorado, at our factory and our offices and anything you need to know about SoundTraxx. It's all right here in the building.
Yeah, it's a beautiful 65-degree day, sunny.
Oh, yeah, it was beautiful.
At this time last week, there was 8 to 10 inches of snow over the area plus.
Yep.
It's amazing. Nice breeze today. So
yeah, it's beautiful. I went to lunch and had the window down.
Yeah.
It was so nice outside. Oh, man, I've got spring fever, something fierce.
Yeah, apparently so do the drivers out there today. It's making a right-hand turn is treacherous today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Well, this is episode 40. This is our 40th episode, season 3, episode 5. And so it's been kind of an interesting last few weeks.
Yep.
I know as of the day we're recording this, I had just gotten back from an operations weekend in Kansas City.
How'd that go? Pretty well.
That was beautiful. That was a lot of fun. Got to see some great layouts. A lot of good SoundTraxx folks out there.
Awesome.
And then I did an appearance over at Doc's Caboose as well. Got to visit with those folks out there. I'll tell you, Mike's really turned that store around. Yeah. I was really worried about it for a while. And since Mike and Felicia have turned it around, I'm actually encouraged by it.
We stopped on our way out here last year when I came out, when I took the job in May, and we stopped at Doc's on the way out. And, of course, we stopped at Slap's Barbecue over there, too.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm sure you got barbecue in Kansas City.
Oh, I got plenty of barbecue. I'm so full still.
But I agree with your assertion on the shop is fantastic. Doc's looks great.
Yeah,
they're in the bottoms, and it's really neat to be done here too. I mean, it's straight down.
Oh yeah,
to get to it off the highway. But yeah, it's fully stocked. Just in a great prices. I mean, really good prices. I bought a couple of boxcars while I was there.
Mm-hmm.
So. And I don't know if Beth stopped on the way back or not, but she may have.
Yeah, I don't know. I did my share and I left some money behind, which is good. But anyway, got to operate some cool layouts. And my invite is the owner of it is John Vandenberg, and he has an HON3 layout out there. And, oh, man, that was a lot of fun running. One of the things, John and I have a great relationship, so I was able to bring our trade show demo K27 Blunami.
Yes.
So I was actually able to run that,
that's awesome.
Which was a lot of fun.
Yep.
And interestingly enough, they had some problems. Their booster went out and wasn't broadcasting signals.
Yeah.
And so a few people were having problems.
So you're the only one probably running
I was
trains.
the only one running trains, which was great.
Because you had the Blunami.
Because I had Blunami.
All you needed was the power in your phone, and you had that.
That's exactly right. And I was running trains. And so that's why it took a few of them a little bit longer to figure out there was a problem with the booster.
Yeah.
Well, he's running trains. Yeah, but he's running Blunami.
Yeah, he's on his own island. He's got that super decoder.
But what ended up happening is they ended up having to replace the whole DCC system. They did literally a plug and swap.
Wow. And
plugged a new one in, fired it right up, and everything worked great.
Great.
After that, so we were able to finish the session. So that was fun. And I operated on a couple N-scale layouts too. Big BN layout. I mean, oh my gosh, the layout size of that one was absolutely huge.
Would have been probably big as an HO layout, huh?
Oh, it would be big for an HO layout,
yeah.
And it was N-scale.
Oh my God!
The yard was probably about 6 feet across, the main classification yard. And man, if you walk in that room, you look at it, you'd swear you're looking down on one of these massive BN yards in the 80s or whatever.
Like you're thumbing through one of those books where you're looking at like Centennial Yard in Fort Worth.
Yeah, exactly.
There's the big bowl there, and you're like. Bird's eye view, huh?
Yeah. Oh, wow. It was, and 30-car trains, 40-car trains, stuff like that.
There's nothing that beats a switch yard like that. Well done track, and then and they got it configured correctly, and got the diamond shape.
Yep.
And then, like you said, stocked with cars and busy.
Yeah.
And a yard master that's in charge.
They had a yard master and 2 assistants. They ran that yard pretty well. And the first time through, I was a bypass, so I literally just snuck past it. And I want to say, I ran 3 trains on that one. The second train was the same. It kind of bypassed. It was basically a out and finish. And then the third one, I came in and terminated in the yard, and I was supposed to call them at the yard throat. And they said, he comes out, finds me. He says, "Are you this?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, I'm already ready for you. So could you just come on in?" And they were ready. And I pulled right in. I think it was track 15 or whatever it was. Pulled right in.
Yep.
And
that's always awesome to have something like that. And then in scale, you can, of course, it's always been an operator scale anyway. They can just run prototypically trains pretty much.
Yeah, I would say it's and I don't want to get in trouble with the N-scale folk, but I think it's more of the guys who want to run the long trains across long mountainous scenery. Mm-hmm. Operations, and the second layout I operated was an Argentine division of Santa Fe in N-scale, and operations was a little bit more tricky because they're still Talgo mounted couplers, even though they're the Microtrains couplers. And so trying to get them on there, and there were a lot of times I'd hit and they would just bounce off and shoot the car halfway down the line. So
that's what I mean, like the operations, it's like I meant kind of like what you're saying. The long trains are the main line, the trains are there, passing sidings, CTC, that kind of stuff, and in-scale is just, Katie bar the door.
Yeah, and honestly, I enjoyed both layouts. They were absolutely fantastic. The hosts were great. The BN layout was still running Rail Command, which was the predecessor for CVP products to their EasyDCC.
Right.
So that was a little tricky to get used to because it's very analog throttle, and you'd hit that. You'd think you start going, and then you'd go one little bit, and then next thing you know, you're barreling down the track. I'm like, oh, no, slow down, and just finding that sweet spot.
Right.
And then with the other N-scale layout, I had a GP7, I think it was, and I was switching cars, and I had a nice little area where I was more or less by myself. I had to bypass. I had to get ready for 3 trains coming in. One coming from, I forget, the east or whatever, dropping off, picking up, and then headed out. And then basically the same train turned and came back, dropped off and picked up with some slightly different cars. They had to rebuild it somewhat, so to speak, but it was the same power.
So they had like car forwarding and everything going on.
Yeah,
every train had a purpose. Every train come through had a purpose.
Yeah,
and then in a following train or whatever would come and use those cars to spot them or whatever. Kind of neat.
The funny thing is, I'll say the Santa Fe layout, I was doing a lot more because they hadn't blocked any of the train.
Right.
So there may be a cut of 4 cars, and they go to 4 different industries, and then the next cut of cars would go to 3 different industries, and some of them were the same ones.
Right.
So I'm putting them in blocks together, getting them ready, and then getting the eastbounds and westbounds out of there. I finally had it blocked out the way I wanted it to be able to start delivering, and the session ended. I was like,
oh man,
so close. I'm sure those customers are like, where's my stuff?
That's right. Yeah, they're like, hey, they were supposed to be here a little while ago.
But I got it done. And anyway, I had a cut of 10 cars, which was way more than what was good for the siding. But it was, but I had to be able to push it back. And then I moved for one car, pick up the other car, and then I was ready to shove to the switching area.
That's what's always great about the local freights and stuff like that is that car blocking and stuff. 'Cause that can take, if you do it the right way, if you do it prototypically, you can really. You really enjoy yourself at the same time, but also eat up some time. I mean, it's time consuming, but it's also fun.
Yep, absolutely. And I had a blast. So can't say enough for the hosts at Kansas City. The layouts were great. The operations schedule, everything was wonderful. And as mentioned, got myself full of barbecue. Hit one of my favorites out there is Q39. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
They're one of the guys, one of the newcomers, so to speak. But they call it the upper echelon, like the gourmet type. Because you go in, you sit down, and they table service you.
Right.
Oh man, the burnt ends were just they melt in your mouth. And then then they brought me this big old giant plate of barbecue, and I was like, oh, I think I did my part to depopulate the cattle that day.
Some of that came back.
Yeah, I brought some of it home, which is one of the rare things I do when I'm traveling is I never bring food home because it doesn't stake. And where am I going to put it? I can't carry. I don't really want to carry it on, especially if it leaks.
Right.
And so you don't want to put it in your check bag because who knows how it's handled there.
Right.
It goes to war.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it does. Yeah, I've watched them like.
Yeah, I've seen guys. They'll take the bag, they'll pick it up, and they'll turn it, and then it'll hang, and then they'll slam it down on that conveyor. Yeah. I'm just like, whoa, well, just set it down.
When we went to Amherst, I had a guy out, Jason, one of my friends out there out in East in Connecticut, and he had a couple engines I was doing installs for him, Tsunami 2s, and he said, "Can you just bring them on the plane with you?" I'm like, "I don't know. I think I'd rather send them UPS than put them on the airplane and put them in the check bag because I'd like for you to get them back in one piece." No offense to the baggage people if you're out there. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the way it goes at that conveyor belt and just.
I usually hand carry stuff if I bring my own stuff. That way I can be in control of it. But once I sit down and my backpack is up in the top overhead compartment, who knows? The next guy comes in and bangs his stuff all over the place.
Or turbulence. I don't think it'd shake it that much. But he had too many. He had I think we had 3 engines, 3 scale trains boxes, and they were pretty good size.
Okay.
So I thought, I don't have room for them in my bag. So.
Gotcha. Well, I don't have a whole lot of projects. I know you were promising last time you were going to have it done, and I see a vacant spot on front.
It's close. It's getting close. I'll have some, those of you watching it, when you get to see the video, there'll be some shots of it in progress. It will be ready next Thursday for the next one.
Yeah, this is that NW2 you're working on.
Right. It's a Walters NW2 Proto, and I think it's a Phase 4. But anyway, it's a Ziegler Cole, and where it's at right now, and you'll see in the pictures, the frame is painted. And it has the pilot plates are painted the orangish color, goldish color, and I used Aspen Gold is what I used.
Okay,
good to get close.
Yep,
true color paint, and I'm going to tape it off with Tamiya paint or tape, and then paint the black.
Okay,
and peel the tape off, and then it'll reveal the barricade stripes on each end.
Oh, nice.
Then after that, it's basically a white paint job, and then Billy Cow's for the win. The decals from a William Brillinger, and then it's done.
Nice.
This was a Tsunami. This was going to be a Blunami. I changed it to Tsunami 2 because some people asked about doing some Tsunami things. So we'll show Tsunami 2 on this one.
Okay.
This is the next 18. So and also because I have 2 of them, the 1200 will be a Blunami that I got from you.
Oh, yeah.
Just a simple plug-in on that one too. But this one here, I thought I'll just leave this. So I'm going to use the Walters board, as you'll see when you see the pictures. I'll use the Walters board. It plugs right in. And their board, fortunately, does work. Nice. Plays nice with our stuff. So
it does.
Great. Good looking engine, great detail. I highly recommend the engine. The one thing I will say, if you do work on these engines, wash the frame. It's an undeck. So if you get an undeck, you're going to paint it. Wash the frame in soap and water. Get all the mold release and all that stuff off, or casting release, and then use a metal primer, which I use is Mr. Hobby's metal primer.
Oh, okay.
So I have a spray can, so I use just a spray can and let it dry overnight, and then apply your primer and your paint. Or you can, if you have a grit blaster, you could grit blast it too. But I don't, so I didn't really want to grit blast it if I did still have my grit blaster. But I used the Mr. Hobby and then spray painted that on there, let that dry, and then put your primer, and the paint sticks perfect with it. I don't know what it's magic, whatever it is, but I use Mr. Hobby products for my primer and stuff.
Gotcha.
Like that, so
good stuff. Well, we're on the end of our seat. And anxious to see the finished product.
I'm pretty excited about it myself. Bill did a great job on the decals. And this is an engine from my hometown area. Yeah. So I used to see this thing shoving cars and stuff in that coal mine, and it worked. And it's just neat. I don't know why Ziegler Coal would take an engine that works a coal mine and paint it white. But it in the pictures that you'll see that you saw when we introduced the project, that had to be freshly out of the paint shop, because that was not the way it looked years later when I saw it. Yeah. Because you could barely read Ziegler Coal on it.
Maybe they wanted gray. They just didn't want to pay for the gray paint.
They painted their tipple on. If you go to my website, javasub.com, and look at their tipple was painted white. So I don't know. This is a Ziegler Coal thing. But anyway, it's a nice engine. Walters did a beautiful job on it. The drive is your typical Proto, 14-to-1, and your helical gears and all that. And it's just a great engine, and
we'll look forward to seeing it showed off when it's finished.
What we got here is
now you talked about the compatibility of the motherboard, and that's why I brought this thing here. This is a Rapido C30-7.
Beautiful engine.
I got 2 of these in the Burlington Northern. I figured they'd be great run through power on the coal trains, right? Just to throw and mix it up a little bit. Well, the problem with the Rapido in some cases is they went to that proprietary motherboard. And so right now I've got the shell removable, and so you'll be able to see this in the picture here. But they've got this uniboard. They've got one circuit board that runs the entire length of the model, and then everything's attached to it. So you've got their, I think they call it MoPower or whatever their Stay Alive is. You've got the 21 pin, and I'll get into that in just a second. But on the front here, you've got the LEDs mounted to the motherboard for the headlight and the number boards. And then you've got these spring-loaded pins down here for the beacon that's on top, which is up here.
Probably your...
No, there's no cab light. There's only two wires.
Control...
no, the control stand light is right here.
Okay, so it's on a wire.
So it's on a wire right here.
Okay.
So all the other stuff, like if it had a nose light, this doesn't have a nose light, but if it had nose light, your class lights are here. All that's on this separate daughter board.
Yep.
And the other thing I noticed is that the rear lights are on a daughter board. So you got the wires going to it. So the only ones I'll have to replace, and the issue is because when you go to plug in the 21 pin here with our Blunami, as you can see, I've just got a setting on top of it, and I'll show you that in just a second. But when you plug it in, the only thing you have access to is headlight and backup light. Well, that's their way of trying to be proprietary to force you to use the inferior sound system.
Right.
Obviously, as a modeler, we want the best out there. We want to have the best.
Right.
So that's why we got for SoundTraxx. That's why you guys are listening. And the other thing really that shows that you're really trying to do this is when we plug in the 21 pin, if you look closely at this motherboard here, and I'll bring the other camera over here to kind of show it, you can see right in the middle there's a screw hole.
Right.
And that screw hole interferes with our components on the underside. So if that screw is there, you can't even put it in, let alone plug it in.
Right.
It just it has to rest on top. So it's kind of frustrating that they would go to that extent to make sure that you can't plug in any other brand other than the one that they're forcing you to use.
Right.
And so, but I tested it, I plugged it in, and the only thing I can get is headlight and backup light. So number boards, all the class lights, everything else, all that I have to hardwire it out. So what I'm going to do, and this may be in the next project, because with a lot of the stuff going on in February and January this year, I haven't had much time to work on stuff.
Right.
But I'll take all this out, replace it. They've got a speaker assembly here, it looks like, with a plastic baffle on the bottom. You can get that JT scale sound system speaker in there, or you could probably put 2 of our cube speakers in there too. Actually, you may even have room for 4.
Right.
I may have to experiment a little bit on that.
Yep. And they're wired. These are wired in series.
These are wired in parallel,
and then
and so really you want to wire them in series anyway.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, it's just another one of those examples, like you were talking about. The Walther's motherboard is fully compatible. This is just an illustration of the blocking the stuff out. And with these capacitors, they don't even work with our decoder. You plug them in and nothing works. You get headlight, backup light, and speaker.
Yeah.
And nothing else, and the whole model works. And so it's kind of frustrating, and especially for the end user. But
it is.
This is what I'm going to do. And I only got 2 of them, so I'll do both of them and just upgrade them to Blunami 21 pin using a Nix Decoder Buddy. Lay it right here on top, and then put the speaker assembly back here, and then I'll just wire the lights, the headlight and the number boards. They've got the clear. Up on the inside of the shell, tubes. You can see the light tubes there.
Yeah.
I'll probably just drill those out and mount an LED in it.
They'll be much brighter.
And it'll be much brighter too.
Yeah, that's one of the things about the light tubes that I don't like, is I don't like the dimness of the light.
Yeah.
You're wasting an LED, because the LEDs, of course ours, our decoder, you can adjust that brightness 1 and brightness 2 and master brightness.
Correct.
But, with the light tube, it does kind of, it's bleeding a lot of it out right here.
Yeah.
And you're losing that.
Well, because that pipe comes up and then it makes a 90-degree turn.
Yeah.
And even if it's curved, most of the light is going to go straight. I mean, it's not a real fiber optic light lens.
It's not.
So it's not going to bend that light like they normally would. But the clear plastic does a decent job.
Yep.
But decent doesn't equal bright.
Right, and what you're going to do with it, like I said, it'll be
much
tremendous.
brighter.
Yeah, and you'll be able to actually dial it in the way you want it, but at the same time be able to demonstrate that they're on. Like
Correct.
When this one's done, which hopefully I'll have the NW2 done before this, but I don't know. George is pretty fast.
If you're almost done painting it, there's a greater than 0 chance. This may be next week's project.
Yeah, be awesome.
So we'll see. But the other thing is, because these have red, green, clear or white class lights.
Right.
I don't need those. I don't need green and red because they wouldn't be used on these engines.
No, those were in on coal trains mainly. And
these were coal trains. These were, extra helpers or something. So
yeah,
I'm excited to get them running. But
they look great. It's a beautiful. The fit and finish on it is absolutely astounding.
Yeah.
The handrails are beautiful. I just wish they would put the board in there so if you buy the DC version like this, it's actually DCC ready in that it will allow you to use an NMRA compliant decoder of your choice.
Yep.
That's the one thing. The C30-7 has pretty much the same drive, different fuel tank, but it had the same issues. I did one of those for a guy. A friend of mine in Missouri Pacific one, and it had the screw here you had to take out to put the Tsunami 2 in it, and the light tubes and stuff. And what we ended up doing is he wanted a beacon on his for the Mopac, and then we wired it off of this and straight up through the cab.
Yep.
And that's what we did on that.
Yep. So
this one's got the beacon on it. Of course,
this one has the beacon, so it'll be easy to put in. It's already wired, so I just need to extend the wires long enough.
Kind of like what you did with your E8s.
Yep, exactly. So anyway, so that's kind of the roundup of the projects that we've got going on right now. So wanted to change up the topic a little bit, kind of speaking of, kind of to what we've been talking about here. You've got, this model here takes a 21 pin, mostly, wink, wink.
Right.
And then you've got your NW2 takes the next 18 plug-in.
Right.
So one of the questions we get asked a lot is, how do you find the right decoder? And, here at SoundTraxx, we're trying to be as helpful as we can and be proactive as we can to give you as much information as you can find on our website.
Right.
So if you go to SoundTraxx.com, there's a lot of great information, but the question always comes up, how do I know?
Right.
And so first off, we have a decoder selector. So if you go into installation help, I believe is the topic on there, and there's a decoder selector. And these are a lot of the models that we've looked at over the years. The problem is that with so many models coming in, we don't have a hobby shop here in Durango. So usually the only time him or I will ever see a model is if we buy it ourselves, for example, the C30, or if one of you folks call us in and send us pictures so we can look at it.
Right.
And then, of course, with everything going on, being busy with sales and support and whatever the case is, it's always hard to get that decoder selector updated.
Yep.
So one of my favorite sayings is that, the decoder selector is actually there as a guide. It's there to help you to find the best decoder that we think will fit. And most of the ones that are on there are models we've looked at.
Right.
However, my favorite phrase is always, there's more than one way to skin a cat, which always has me asking, first off, why are we skinning cats?
Right.
Is that really something that has to be done? Especially you as a cat lover.
No, it would never be done. No.
And then the second...
We don't declaw them either, but that's another subject.
But then the second question is, why do we need more than one way to do it?
You don't.
It always makes you wonder where those phrases come from.
I know.
Right?
I wonder. Yeah, it does. I mean, it makes you... art imitates life, and I wouldn't consider that art. But,
there you go.
But neither would Leo, the cat.
Yeah, exactly.
He'd be like...
But where I'm going with that is, like, for example, if you look at some of the model that we did in the past here, the Athearn SD40, where we did the RTR SD40 Rehab My Loco.
Right.
If you look at some of the models, some of the decoder selector, I believe it says to use a 2200, and part of that is because the original 9-pin board the original decoder or circuit board had a 9-pin harness coming off of it that you would just plug a 2200 into it, so it made it easy.
Yep.
But I chose to go with a PNP because I wanted more lighting outputs, but also I took the whole model completely apart, which goes to show you there's always more than one way to do it.
Right. So you can put pretty much any decoder in that, and like you said, you did the PNP. The Athearn board itself actually is pretty much dimensionally the same length and width as of the PNP. It's just that the Athearn board, like you said, had the 9-pin pigtail off of it, the JSD 9-pin. And it also had an 8-pin socket on it as well, which I always use the 9-pin too. But like you're saying, I like the clean install, and I like the PNP8, and or the Decoder Buddy. But selection, one of the things that matters also is the amperage of the motor, the stall current. That matters.
Yep.
And to pick the right decoder, you don't want to pick an 1100 for a motor that stalls out over a 2 amp motor, because you're gonna burn the decoder. Yeah, it's gonna get hot and melt the shrink wrap right off of it. But I mean, those are things that matter too. Your speaker, your wattage for your speakers matters, and that's why we have that information on the website, on our decoders pages specifically. If you scroll down to the specifications, it tells you what all that stuff is, the wattage, and it tells you the amperage, and those things matter too.
Yep. So the decoder selector is there as a guide, but one of the other questions is, how do I know which sound is correct? So when we're looking at this C30, what would be correct? And so the reality is that we do have some of that information as well. So if you go to how to select the right diesel decoder, you'll see where we've listed out each of the prime movers and a bulk majority of each of the locomotives that those prime movers were used in. And you can usually find a lot of that stuff online as well. So if you go to an internet browser of your choice and just type in U30C GE, you'll find a lot of write-ups. Wiki is always one of the ones that pops up, but it's so funny that you can't cite Wiki in a court of law. But for most part, stuff like this is probably okay.
It's probably going to work.
But you want to double check a couple of sources just to make sure. But usually it'll be correct in the case of which prime mover is in there. And so you can go in, look at the C30, you'll see the 7 FDL. I'm sorry, the FDL 7. Sorry.
For this one.
The FDL 16. I can't even speak. Yeah, it's the first day of my new brain. FDL 16. And that'll be the early FDL block. That'll be used in like the U30Cs, which I've got 3 Mopac ones ready to do in addition to these guys. And you'll be able to go in and see what it come with. Then you can go to our sound selection references to find out which decoder. So most commonly, the EMD, for example, is the one that's always up in question because there's 2 EMDs. You have EMD and EMD2. We thought it would be funny to do a play on EMD nomenclature, EMD-2. But apparently a lot of people they get very fixated on that -2.
Well, that's what they think. And the EMD-2 is the 38-2, 40-2, 50.
Yeah, we were just having a little bit of fun with the nomenclature. So it's actually a second collection. So I kind of low-key stopped you calling it a -2 and just call it EMD2. So it's the second prime mover set. But it too has a collection of 567, 645, and 710s that will match a wide range of different models that you can find in there. So if you get to the point where you're not sure which prime mover or which sound you're looking at, just give us a shout. We are here. We're able to answer your questions. Give us a call. Give us an email. Whatever's convenient for you. Just let us know what you're looking for. We'll kind of spend some time and look it up and see. The other thing is you can actually hear the sound samples of our locomotive decoders on our website. So if you go to sound samples, where you can listen to each of the sound samples as you go. So if you want to hear what the FDL 16 sounds like versus the FDL 12, you can certainly get in there and listen to it. And a lot of times you can even go to YouTube or someplace like that where you can find maybe an old video that may be of the C30-7s when they were running. And then you can use it as a comparative chart. But then we also have the audio tools. So if you want to have a fleet of C30s that all don't sound the same, you can certainly do that as well with the audio tools, whether it be pitch shift, the equalizer, reverb, all that other stuff. All those tools are there to give you the ability to make those decoders sound the way you want them to.
They sound great too when they're under load.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Taking off from a dead stop is one of the best. You just gives her the throttle. And you put that SoundTraxx in there, you get that FDL 16. It's pretty pronounced. The chug is there.
It's there, and like we've talked about in the past, we don't filter out the low end, so get yourself a speaker. And like I said, in this particular case here, there's a greater than 0 chance I may be able to fit 4 cube speakers along here. And if I can, great, that's what I'm doing.
That'd
be because great. That'll be 4 cube speakers, and that means that low end really will come to life. So... But the good news is that we're always here to help. So if you do get stuck or have any questions, all you have to do is email us or call us, whichever you're convenient, and let us know what you're looking for, and we'll help you find the right decoder. There's some models that maybe we don't have in our library, it's because we've either not had access to it or it doesn't exist.
Right.
And in which case, we're not going to fabricate something that doesn't exist. But if we have something that might be close, for example, a lot of the Baldwins, you had the 608 and the 606, turbo and non-turbo. Well, we have technically both options in both. So if you have a supercharge or something like that, you can probably get a pretty close sounding sample of the 608A, NA, or whatever. NA is naturally aspirated. A is the turbo. And I'm drawing a blank on the third one. There's another one, but 608 SC maybe.
I think so.
But anyway, the good news is you can get a pretty close representation in many instances of those very, very obscure use prime movers. And it's just like I said, because we haven't had access to it or they don't exist anymore. So a lot of good stuff. Then the other question is always which is the best board format, and that's going to kind of, so once you pick the sound profile and everything, then of course you want to pick the decoder to fit. Now in this particular case, these slots right here on the side are actually for the mounting of the shell to come down. So I have to stay within this. I have to stay within these parameters. So a PNP may not be the best choice here because I think a PNP might encroach on where these mounting shells are. So in this case, that's why I'm going to go with a buddy, a decoder buddy, fit it here in the middle. And then once I put the buddy on and wire the lights up, I can probably put a current keeper or something here in the bag next to the speakers or whatever the case is.
You got a lot of room.
There's a lot of room in there once you take out that motherboard. But in some cases, a PNP may be the best fit. So like Tom was talking about, you want to look at the motor stall current, you want to look at the space you have available, and you want to look at the wattage to match it up to the speaker or speakers that you have access to. So if I was to put a PNP board in here and a single cube speaker, that's a recipe for disaster. Because the PNP decoder is capable of putting out 2 watts. And the cube speakers that we have only are capable of a peak, which means max, at 1 watt. And so if you hook that up and then you say, well, it's too quiet, and you turn the volume up, next thing you know, something's going to give, whether it's the speaker, the amplifier on the decoder, or both. In which case, then your decoder is going to get a trip back to Durango for repair. But until you put that second cube speaker in there, you're setting yourself up for disaster later on. So you always want to compare all of that when it comes to it. So your stall current, your shape, that's your fitting, your power wattage for your amplifier, but your biggest governing factor is, of course, the stall current of the motor. So
that's ground zero for it, really, because that's going to get you started. What decoders to start looking at as far as the board format is, okay, we know this engine probably is well under an amp. It's a modern. The 2 amp ones that are great and we get a lot of questions about. I just did one today for someone as far as recommending one for them was an Athearn Blue Box, and it's always. I mean, when he did the stall current, it came under the 2 amp, but it was 2200 series territory, and that's what he got.
And speaking on that lines, I had another gentleman this past week was doing one of the old SW7s with the old Blue Box motor. It was not the gray one, it was the gold colored one, but it was still a Blue Box.
It's a hog.
And it takes every ounce of space vertical in that shell, and so there's no fit. So if you put a 2200, it's either going to have to fit in the cab if it fits, and then but then where do you put 2 cube speakers? Because that 2200 is a 2 watt amplifier. And so that's where you kind of have to look at what you're doing. In that case, he bought a repower kit he found online with a motor that stalls less than 1 amp. So I think he's going to be able to do it, test it, put an 1100 on top of the motor there, or a PNP, and then he's going to put 2 cubes. I think he's going to put one in the cab or one in the long hood or both in the top of the cab. So
the solution was, in that case, like you said, like George said, he remotored it to get the stall current underneath where he could use a smaller decoder to get it in there.
Correct. So there's always options out there. And like I said, we're here to help guide you. We're happy to help assist any way we possibly can. Want you to be successful with your installs. So with that, any other thoughts, comments?
No, I think you're right, and I think you're right on the money as usual. So.
Well, that's everything we got planned for today. Going to be a little short because, like I said, we don't have the models to show off and run. So hopefully next time.
I am working on them. I've been covered up with other people's stuff. Every time I turn around, I got somebody, can you put this in for me? Sure, got it.
Sure.
No problem. Yeah, I know. And like you said, the weather's moderated now, so it's not freezing out in the garage to paint. I don't want to. This house is not mine, so I'm renting it, so I don't want to be painting in there with solvent-based paint inside the house.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the kitty cats, they don't like that either. They just, they frown on that.
Right.
But so now it's nice. I can get out in the garage, and like I said, you'll see the pictures on the video here. Just check out the pictures of it. It's looking pretty good. Yep. And we will have a reveal of it next week. And it'll be running, have its beacon light and everything going.
All right, we're going to hold you to it.
Yep.
If not, we're going to take you to the Dunkin' machine at the carnival.
Yeah. There you go. That's right. Ooh. Yeah, on a cold day too.
On a cold day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's everything we got, guys. Thanks for watching. We hope this was helpful for you. Hope this is entertaining and informative. If you have any comments, please leave them down below. Let us know if you like this type of stuff. Be sure to like the video. Subscribe to our channel where you get lots of great information like this, whether it be the podcast or to our YouTube channel where you can get lots of informative videos. I know we did a podcast not long ago about the E8, and I showed you step by step how to do that E8. And that one worked. That one had no proprietary stuff.
Yeah.
Other than the cab light, which I didn't need the red class light, so I show you how to move the light to control it. So anyway, like, subscribe, comment below.
Yep.
I think that's everything. Click the bell so you get notified every time we go with a new video.
Yeah, like, subscribe, and and give us your feedback. We always respond to those, and we appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye now.